These kings were not humans. They were these Anunnaki people. There are people who believe they're the direct descendants of these beings and that they have the right to rule over human beings still to this very day. And they came from the Bureau. They got down to Earth. And this is about 450,000 years ago, according to the tablets. The Anunnaki, who are also the Atlanteans, that's the same people. The Atlantean is the civilization. Anunnaki means those who came from heaven to earth. And they started off with this cloning system at first. So Isis says, I have an idea. She says, I'm going to take an egg from one of the women. And they took the egg and she cleaned out some of the genetic material. They added some of their essence to the egg. They put it in her womb. She took it to term 10 months. And then you see her in this famous cylinder scroll holding up this baby saying, my hands have created it. She gave birth to the Adamu, which means first man. So they put Adam in this Eden, E-D-I-N, and this Eden was this laboratory where they would have these mating rituals between the different peoples. And when they got Adam in there, they tried to mate him with these other ones. They made Eve, they mated them, and bingo, it worked. Crazy story, that was about 200,000 years ago. They also genetically modified us by taking chromosome number 2 out of our body, fusing it together, and putting telomere caps on each end to limit our lifespans. And scientists now, geneticists at universities, they teach this. They say, we don't know how this happened. It's an artificial mutation that would have taken millions of years to happen, but it happened about 200,000 years ago. So the tablets line up with modern science. And so it's the foundation of a high-level civilization. When we got to one of the highest advanced civilizations, which started out in Sumer and then migrated over into the land of Kemet before it became Egypt, the initial pharaohs would be a direct bloodline of one of these Anunnaki people. When they relocated home base to the land of Kemet, they rebuilt the land of Chem out of the mud because there was a great flood. At this dawn of this new era, 36,000 years ago, the gentleman who started this, his name was Thoth, T-H-O-T-H, and he's known as a wisdom keeper. He's known all over the entire world, but he ruled over the land of Kemet for 14 or 16,000 years, roughly thereabout, according to the ancient Egyptians. And then he left there and went to Mesoamerica and kickstarted the Teotihuacan in Mexico City. That was all his master architectural plan. And Teotihuacan is part of his African name, which is also known as Tahuti. And Teotihuacan in Mexico really means the city of Tahuti that he built out there. So he left there, and that's why the pyramid complex there mirrors the one at Giza in Africa. Akhenaten is King Tut's father. So Akhenaten decided, I'm going to become a monotheistic ruler and not the kind of believes in multiple gods. And what got into him was Amun-Ra, who's also Thoth's brother. And he told Akhenaten that you worship me and you get everyone to worship me and deface all the other gods. That's why he was kicked out of Egypt. He went to the Great Pyramid and he went to that stone box area inside the king's chamber and took Ark of the Covenant with him. See, Akhenaten is Moses. That's the Moses story. They ended up in the desert with the Ark of the Covenant, which is well noted and documented in biblical text. A super advanced technological machine. It was multi-purposeful. What it was capable of doing, it's a weapon, but it also has the capability of being a power source. The Great Pyramid itself is a power generator. It was built on top of an aquifer, and the water running underneath the Great Pyramid, it creates physiostatic electricity. Those ions would get pushed up into the Grand Gallery, and they had resonating rods in the slots going up the Grand Gallery. When it got to the king's chamber, some other type of fusion would happen, and it would then send the energy up through the apex, and the apex, which is now missing, would then transmit it out wirelessly to the obelisk, which then collect this ambient electricity. And if you had a JED, you can pick up this ambient wireless electricity. You can see the JED connected to light bulbs and so forth like a Nidera. I knew it wasn't a sarcophagus, but it's the same exact, I measured it. It's the same exact dimensions as what? The Ark of the Covenant. So when Akhenaten took that, he took the power source for Egypt. As time continued to go by, and they began to then handpick specific people to do specific things, and they would then create these genetically modified or bloodline people. Yeshua was one of them. He was a chosen one to bring a certain level of Christ consciousness, which existed before Jesus Christ, that terminology ever came to be. I put the New Testament where Jesus is speaking, and I put both the Atlanteans' words from the Emerald Tablets, and you see that Jesus is literally mimicking what he learned from the ancient mystery schools, which he learned directly from the Egyptian mysteries from Thoth the Atlanteans' teachings. The real text is 36,000 years old. It's just a mimicking of ancient texts, and a lot of different religions cropped out of his spiritual writings that he wrote in those Emerald Tablets.